Every year in India, millions of students lock themselves in rooms, cut off festivals, weddings, vacations, and sometimes even friendships, all for one exam, one answer sheet, one rank, one seat, and one chance to become a doctor. But in 2026, before many of those students could even recover from the stress of the exam, the country was hit by the same terrifying question that returned after previous controversies. Was the exam already sold before students even opened the paper? An exam that nearly 23 lakh students wrote was cancelled after allegations that the question paper had leaked. The case was transferred to the CBI. Arrests began, coaching links surfaced, WhatsApp groups were investigated, parents panicked, students cried, and at least one death by suicide was reported amid the fallout. The bigger shock was not just the leak, it was the realization that in a country where becoming a doctor is considered one of the highest dreams, the path itself may no longer feel fair. NEET is India's national entrance exam for undergraduate medical admissions, mainly MBBS, PDS, and several allied health programs. The intention sounds simple: create one national merit list so that the students from every state compete under one system. Before NEET, many states had their own medical entrance tests, and private colleges often had separate exams. This created multiple syllabi, multiple forms, and huge inconsistency. NEET changed that. One exam, one day, one rank. The exam is based mainly on physics, chemistry, and biology from classes 11 and 12 with multiple choice questions. The total score determines national ranking. The rank decides whether a student enters a government medical college or private institution or misses out completely. And the difference matters because in India, a government MBBS seat can cost dramatically less than private alternatives, sometimes by tens of lakh of rupees. So NEET is not just an exam, it is a gateway that can decide whether a middle class family rises or sinks into debt. The official reason was standardization. The government argued that medical education should not depend on where a student was born. A student from Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, or Gujarat should compete under the same system. That sounds equal, but quality on paper and quality in reality are not always the same. Because once NEET became dominant, a new issue emerged. The exam gradually favored those with access to expensive coaching ecosystems, especially in large urban centers. English medium CBSE students often found alignment easier, while many state board students, especially from regional language backgrounds, felt disadvantaged. Translation error in regional language papers have reportedly been criticized in past years. Students have said questions were ambiguous after translations. A single wrong translation can destroy rank because thousands of candidates are separated by just a few marks. That means one language error can decide a doctor's future. For many rural students, the battle is not just biology, it is language, urban inequality, coaching fees, and information access. This is where the story turns from education into trust collapse. The NEET 2026 exam, held on 3rd May, was later cancelled after authorities found evidence suggesting a leaked guest paper matched actual questions. The government ordered a fresh exam and transferred the investigation to the CBI. Reports indicate that investigators traced a network involving coaching-linked actors, handwritten question compilations, and digital circulation. Some reports mention leaked material was sold for 10 to 15 lakh. Multiple arrests have been made, including a coaching institute owner in Latur, Maharashtra. How it allegedly happened. According to current reports, the paper may have moved through a chain involving insiders, coaching intermediaries, and pre-exam guest papers that closely matched the real exam. Authorities are probing whether insiders connected to exam operations were involved or not. This is the dangerous part. The leak may not have started at the exam hall. It may have started inside the system itself. China uses Gaokao taken by millions, yet major national paper leaks are rare because the security chain is militarized in practice. Sealed papers tracked by GPS, police escort, restricted printing zones, biometric verification, signal jammers, heavy criminal penalties, and immediate digital auditing. United States handle large standardized tests such as MCAT and SAT, mostly through secure computer-based systems, reducing physical paper transport. South Korea's CSAT is so tightly regulated that flights are even adjusted during listening sections. India's problem is not lack of intelligence, it is weak execution across long logistical chains, printing, transport, center handling, and human collusion. When thousands handle a confidential paper, one corrupt link can destroy fairness for millions. Just imagine, studying for 2 years, some study for 4, droppers sacrifice social life, families sell jewelry for coaching, parents move to the cities, then after the exam, the country says, sorry, write again. The paper is not just cancelled, trust is cancelled. Many students reported emotional collapse online. Social platforms were flooded with anger, grief, and exhaustion. The worst damage is psychological. A student begins to believe merit alone is not enough. And once a society loses faith in merit, the social contact begins to crack. This part is painful. A reported case from Uttar Pradesh involved a 21-year-old NEET aspirant who died by suicide after the cancellation. Authorities and media linked the family's statement to stress following the controversy. There may be additional cases under local reporting, but official aggregated numbers are still unclear. One number matters less than one truth. No exam should push a young person to believe life ended because a test became corrupt. The government has cancelled the original exam, ordered retest, handed the probe to Central Bureau of Investigation, announced reforms to the National Testing Agency, increased scrutiny of centers and staff. Arrests continue. Investigators are looking into coaching links and possible insider access. The key issue now is whether the reforms are temporary public response or permanent structural change. 3 major changes could reduce future leaks. Fully encrypted digital delivery. Question paper should not travel physically days in advance. Decryption should happen only minutes before the exam, center specific. Real-time surveillance. All exam rooms, control rooms, and storage facilities should be monitored with immutable audit logs. Lifetime blacklisting. Any center, staff member, or institution involved should face permanent ban, criminal charges, and financial seizure. The biggest deterrence is not advice, it is certainty of punishment. Internationally, such incidents reinforce a stereotype that India struggles with administrative integrity despite claiming global leadership. India often promotes itself as Vishwaguru, a global knowledge power. But when national exams repeatedly face leaks, the outside world sees contradiction. A nation producing world-class doctors and engineers but unable to secure the exam that selects them. That hurts soft power. Not because foreigners mock, but because trust in institutions matters globally. This extends beyond NEET. Students appearing for JEE, UPSC, and other state recruitment exams being asked the same question. If NEET can leak, what about others? The question spreads fear across the entire competitive ecosystem because competitive exams rely on one invisible pillar. That is belief. Once belief collapses, every rank becomes suspicious, every topper becomes questioned, every result becomes doubted, and every honest student becomes emotionally exhausted. The tragedy of NEET 2026 is not only a leaked paper. A paper can be reprinted, an exam can be rescheduled, an FIR can be refiled, arrests can happen. But trust, once leaked, is much harder to recover. Somewhere tonight, in a small room in India, a student is still studying under a single tube light, believing hard work matters. The country owes that student one thing, a system where effort is stronger than corruption. Because when a nation fails its students, it is not just an exam scandal. It is a warning about the future it is building. This is not about one exam, not only about NEET. Not about one leak, one scandal, or one corrupt official. This is about something deeper, A system that was meant to produce thinkers, doctors, engineers, and researchers, slowly turning into a machine that sells hope as a product. There was a time when education in India was spoken of as a ladder. A child from a village could study, write one exam, and move into a different life. That belief made families sacrifice everything: land, jewelry, sleep, even dignity, because they thought education was still a fairest path upward. But what happens when the path itself starts looking manipulated? When coaching decides rank more than curiosity? When private colleges price seats like luxury goods? When some institutions treat education less like a public service and more like a private market where desperation is demand? Then slowly, silently, education stops being equal opportunity. It becomes an auction, just disguised with entrance tests. The deeper problem is not only government systems, it is also social mindset. In India, education is increasingly judged not by learning but by salary. A subject is considered valuable only if it is guarantees income. A course is respected only if it is leads to a package. A child is praised only if marks can be converted into status. Parents always ask how much salary, but not what did you learn, not what problem can you solve, not what kind of person are you becoming. That one shift changes everything, because when money becomes the only purpose, then ethics becomes optional, and once ethics becomes optional, cheating starts to look like strategy. Look carefully. Paper leaks are not burned on exam day. They are burned much earlier. They begin in the coaching obsession, in rank worship, in family pressure, in comparing children like investments, in the sentence many students hear from childhood: you must succeed whatever it takes. Those four words create a dangerous country, because some hear them and work harder, and others hear them and buy shortcuts, and some adults build business selling those shortcuts. That is how an ecosystem of corruption grows, not because a nation lacks talent, not because success is valued more than fairness. India has brilliant students, no doubt. Some of the brightest minds in the world come from Indian classrooms, yet many of them leave. Why? Not because they hate India, because systems that reward transparency attract talent. A student who believes merit matters will choose places where rules are predictable. When young talent repeatedly sees exam leaks, seat manipulation, donation culture, and endless coaching dependency, many stop trusting domestic institutions. The brightest leave, the frustrated stay, and the corrupt profit. That cycle gradually weakens a nation over decades. And this is another silent damage. Students begin believing their worth is a score. A teenager who fails one exam thinks life failed. That itself is a warning sign of broken educational culture. An exam should test knowledge. It should never define existence. Yet, in many Indian households, a rank card can decide how relatives speak to a child, how neighbors compare them, even how parents emotionally respond. This is not at all education. That social pressure completely wrapped an aspiration. And if nothing changes, the future danger is serious. The system may still produce degrees, but not necessarily competence. Imagine doctors selected through compromised systems, engineers trained through rote, officials shaped by memorization rather than judgment. A country may look educated on paper but weak in actual capability. That is the slow failure most people do not even notice until it is too late. Because collapse does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives as normalized mediocrity. India does not lack students. India does not lack intelligence. And India does not lack ambition. What it risks lacking is trust, and trust is harder to build than universities. If education becomes business, exams become trade, and the students become customers, the nation may still produce certificates but lose credibility. The warning is simple. A country can survive poor infrastructure for years. It can survive political instability. It can survive economic slowdown. But when its young people stop believing efforts matters, that damage is really far deeper. Because the day hard work feels weaker than corruption, a generation stops dreaming honestly. And when that happens, the loss is not just personal, it becomes national.